Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
The following is a paid program by Carl Sterling. The content of the show is that of Carl Sterling and does not represent the views of this station or iHeartMedia. Some of the information contained in this program has not been approved by the FDA, nor is it intended to diagnose, prevent, treat, or cure any diseases. Information hereafter is for general information only, and before considering anything discussed, you should contact your doctor or primary care physician.
One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you smaller.
Your Health Matters with Carl Sterling on News Radio 570 WSYR on 106.9 FM and live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
I take a couple uppers, I down a couple downers, but nothing compares to these blue and yellow purple.
Bring you the latest in health and wellness so you can get to the other things that matter. Here is your host, Carl Sterling.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's doing absolutely fantastic today. Here in Syracuse, New York, I'm looking out the window here at the studio. It's absolutely beautiful. It's got to be in the 70s, mostly blue skies. Absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I love that spring is here, even though the allergies are getting me a little bit. But let's keep moving here, folks. Let's talk about some stuff. We have so much to go over today. First, I want to thank you for all the positive feedback on last week's show with Dr. Terry Walls, best-selling author and creator of the Walls Protocol. I have to say it was so much fun to talk with her. She's really fun. But what an impressive story, right? And we look at where she was when she was, I believe, 45 years old in a wheelchair, one of those ones where you're, I forget what they call them. But anyway, she was not able to get up and walk around. I saw a video of her again the other day. She's running on her treadmill. She's riding on her bicycle. So if you missed that show, just go to carlsterling.com. That's Carl with a K. Go to the menu, hit the previous radio show recordings. They're all right there. All right, so this week, right now, here with me today, I have a very special guest. We're going to introduce her in a minute. But as we always do, we have the book of the week. And the book of the week this week is called Barefoot Strong. Unlock the Secrets to Movement Longevity. I bought the book when it first came out, which I think is going on 9 years or so. This stands the test of time, folks. This book is written by my special guest who is with me today, Dr. Emily Splichal. And as I often say, I have pretty much three primary mentors in this business, but I have never, ever learned more from any mentor than I have from Dr. Emily. A lot of reasons for that. Part of it has to do with the feet or our connection with the ground. I mean, we walk on our feet, don't we, folks? We don't walk on our hands. We walk on our feet. Feet are so important. I'll let her talk about that stuff. Book of the week, Barefoot Strong. Google it. Amazon it. Go buy it. It's a fantastic book, easy read. Absolutely the best book on barefoot that I know of. Okay, podcast of the week is Nutrition Facts Podcast with Dr. Michael Greger. You probably all heard of him. He's great. You can't go wrong with Greger, right? You don't have to agree with everything he says, but I tell you that his stuff also stands the test of time. Nutrition Facts. Okay, let's go move on. Remember, you can sign up for daily text updates, health, longevity. This is a longevity-based program, folks. We are here to bring you, I am here to bring you as much relevant and important information and education to help you elongate the health span within your lifespan. You know, as Dr. Barry says, and I'm going to say this because I didn't make it up, Dr. Barry made this up, I hope you die fast. Not soon. We don't want anybody to die soon. I don't want anyone to have some long death that takes years and years and you're bedridden and all that. No, it's horrible. We can't control everything, folks. For what we can control, if we're able to take control of our life, our nutrition, our movement, our health, our mindset, all these different choices, whatever is within our realm, to be able to take and make the choices and decide to do what's best for us, we can elongate the health span within our lifespan. So this text messaging sign up is on the website, Carl with a K, .com. Go there. It's right on the landing page. You can't possibly miss it. Put in your phone number, your email. Every morning you're going to get a longevity tip. Biodensity. We have results coming in on this biodensity, folks. We have more people coming in with improved DEXA scans. Their T-scores, their Z-scores, they're improving. They're actually moving out of osteoporosis, out of osteopenia, having better scores, moving into more normal numbers regarding their bone health. Bone health is so important, right? If we're under-muscled, if we're compromised in our balance, our movement for any reason, especially as we age, because we have what Dr. Michael Joyner at the Mayo Clinic says, aging, obligatory aging muscle decay is going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it except for stay on top of it, get moving, walk a lot, do resistance training, keep that muscle mass, because that's tied in with metabolism. It's tied in with all things movement, balance, stability, mobility, agility, and it's tied in with reducing falls, and it's tied in with bone health and bone density. You come and see us, carlsterling.com. Again, here we go, carlsterling.com with a K. Check out the biodensity page. For the price of about 2 massages per month, you can build bone health and get bone strong. Okay, let's get to my guest, because the minutes on radio go faster than any minutes in my whole life. My guest, I'm just going to do a real quick introduction here. She is my number one mentor. She's a friend. She's amazing. She is a functional podiatrist. She is the movement specialist extraordinaire. So we're going to be talking today about a passion of hers that's also become a passion of mine. Has to do with walking speed and longevity. My guest today joining me is Dr. Emily Splichal. Dr. Emily, thank you for joining me. How you doing?
I'm doing amazing. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. We're going to have you as a regular, okay? Because what you say is always just so, everything is just so great. I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm so glad to have you back. Before we go to a break, because, you know, I have to talk a little bit up front. We got 3-4 minutes here. Let's start talking about this walking speed and longevity. I love that you wanted to share this with me. You suggested this topic. Please, let's start talking about it.
Absolutely. So there's research that will refer to walking speed as the 6th vital sign. And as we age, there is oftentimes a slowing down of the pace at which we walk, which can actually predict morbidity and mortality. So when I look at gait, and I assess gait on all of my patients, it's not just what are the mechanics of the feet and the hips as we go through the gait cycle. Can someone, balance on one leg? But it's actually looking at the movement quality, the movement accuracy, and therefore that falls into walking speed. And I'm sure we'll go into why walking speed is so important. But one of the biggest ones that I want to highlight up at the front is walking speed is going to activate a circulatory pump in our entire system that really supports getting the very important blood and oxygen and nutrients to our brain, which is very cognitive protective. It will actually stimulate brain-derived neurogrowth factor, which is cognitive protective. And it's just an awesome form of hydrating your connective tissue, hydrating your joints, and to really support the heart as a pump as well.
I mean, all of this just makes so much sense to me. This is a no-brainer. I love it. I didn't know about the study, and I had not heard of this being as like a 6th vital sign, if you will. How about you, Dave? You ever heard of that? 6th vital sign?
No. It's interesting, though. I like the when Dr. Emily talked about the pace at which you may walk as you get older can attract morbidity. Is that what you said, Dr. Emily?
Morbidity and mortality. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought.
And what we typically see in an aging walking pattern is obviously it starts to slow, but a big reason why it slows is that we start to take these short little steps.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually the shortening of our step length that is correlated to the change in the speed at which we walk.
Interesting. You know, I work with, generally speaking, I say with love and respect to all I work with who fall into this category possibly, aging population, if you will. I'm talking aging, I mean elderly population. 80s, a lot of people under 80s are coming in. We have quite a few in their 70s. We have quite a few in their 90s. And what's interesting to me, actually what I love, is they come to us for a reason. They come in because things are changing. Maybe they don't have enough muscle mass. Maybe their balance is compromised. They're having trouble walking. They're using a walker. They're using a cane. And I can relate from her firsthand experience, obviously working with this population for many, many years. Absolutely, Dr. Emily. We see shortening of steps. And you know what? We should probably head out for a break, right, Dave? Okay, so we're going to head out for a break. We'll come back and we'll get right into the meat and potatoes here of all this stuff, walking speed and longevity with Dr. Emily Splichal. My name is Carl Sterling. This is Your Health Matters right here on News Radio 570 WSYR. Also available on 106.9 NFM. Okay, we are back. Friends, I am going to do something I never do. I never ask for help. I just don't. But I'm asking for help. I'm competing for what I would consider the opportunity of a lifetime to be featured in Muscle and Fitness magazine. Yes. Believe it or not, me. Yeah. And it's a prestigious title of Mr. Health and Fitness. I would have mentioned it last week, but that was a pre-recorded show. And 2 weeks ago, I hadn't entered yet. I didn't know that I would. Well, somebody sent me something and said, you need to do this. So I'm asking for help. And it's real easy. I'm asking you to please go to Carl Sterling, that's Carl with a K, carlsterling.com. On the front page, in the middle, and on the left, you can't possibly miss it. Vote for me. Click, go, cast your free vote.
Because if you don't do that, he will text message you at 10 at night.
Oops. Sorry, Dave. I made the top 20. Okay, I was number 2 until 4 minutes before the expiration. I'm sorry, I was number 1. Then all of a sudden, 4 minutes before 10 p.m. Thursday night, I slipped to number 2. Well, whatever, it's fine. I still made the top 20. Right now, I'm still number 2. It's really, really close between number 1 and me. And you know what? Whoever wins, wins. It'll be fair. It's all based on votes, your votes. If I win, I do win money. It's no secret. There's $20,000 involved. And I can promise you I'm not nearly as interested in that as I am the opportunity to have a 2-page or more spread in that magazine so that I can preach my stuff to have that population who reads that extremely widely circulated magazine maybe think just a little bit differently, not change anything they're doing, but have them think about the future. Okay? Because the future means for everybody we need to retain our muscle mass. So this is a good, if I win, it's great. People can go on, they can buy votes. If they buy votes, yes, it does get, that goes to the Be Positive Foundation. It has a mission to provide financial and emotional support to families of children with cancer. So there's a lot of good that comes out of it, and there could be nothing bad. If I win, I'll be grateful. If I don't, I will have tried. So feel free to go on there, carlsterling.com, Carl with a K. Vote for me. You can vote every day. And the next round cuts 10 p.m. Eastern this coming Thursday, the 23rd. Back with Dr. Emily Splichal here, founder of Namoso Technology and many other things. We're talking about walking speed and longevity. Dr. Emily, let's continue our conversation. What's next on your list of why this is so important? Because we know it is. Please enlighten us.
Absolutely. So when I read this research article, what was interesting is they were pretty much just sharing statistics of the correlation between declining walking speed and morbidity mortality. But then there was no solution around it. And the way that my mind thinks is you want to think about the then what or the so what, right? So what's the action around this? So there's 3 subsectors under that, or 3 reasons, let's say, of what supports walking speed. And those are going to be balance. So your ability to stand on one leg is going to have an effect. We have to break down balance. The second is going to be with your relationship to absorb and transfer energy or impact forces, because there's a very important potential to elastic energy response that happens every time we walk and take a step. And then the third one is, do you have the ability within your foot and your system to actually progress or to propulse? So this progression element of walking is really, really important. So those are going to be the 3 areas that I then break down to understand walking speed.
Well, I love this. So, 10 years ago, I met you the first time way up on near the top floor of some building in Manhattan. And I have to tell you, with respect, I was just scared to death because I was so nervous, because I've been watching your videos thinking, I don't know how I'm going to ask her any intelligent questions. But anyways, being the consummate professional and so knowledgeable as you are, that 20-minute interview is the whole reason. Well, first of all, it changed my direction and my trajectory as a personal trainer at the time, if you will. Because, no disrespect to any certifying agency out there, they don't talk about feet like this. They don't talk about vibration. They don't talk about absorption, about the tendons and the fascia that absorb it. Our 5 phases of gait, the elastic recall, the push off, and where you're supposed to do it and how it's supposed to happen. And I teach this now because of you. Thank you. I teach this to everyone in my clinic because it is absolutely so important. Because if we can't do the things you just mentioned, the balance, the absorption and transfer of energy, and then propulsion, we're going to have some problems. This is going to slow us down. So what would you add to this?
Absolutely. What I would say is, so I want to talk about the fascial energetic release first.
Sure.
So what's important for people to know with walking and dynamic movement is that every time your foot strikes the ground, you experience impact forces. And those impact forces are actually necessary to taking your next step. A lot of people, unfortunately, the podiatry community, a lot of footwear industries make us think that impact forces are a bad thing, that that's where all these injuries come from. But I want the listeners to associate foot striking ground is the first step in this cascade of moving efficiently and moving like a rubber band, you could say. Your fascia, your connective tissue, is your body's rubber band. And if you are not able to load and unload that rubber band efficiently, then you are going to be moving with your muscles. And your muscles are involved in every movement, but muscular movement, high-level thinking muscular movement, is actually very exhausting for our system. We are designed to move more fascially, more like a rubber band, using our tendons, using our ligaments, and that allows us to essentially just recoil with every step that we take versus pulling our legs forward. We don't want to pull our legs forward every time we take a step. You want it to be almost more like a slingshot or a boomerang where you're pulling a band and then you recoil it, and then you effortlessly swing that leg forward, strike the ground, you essentially load that leg, and then you recoil that leg forward, and then it becomes very momentous or graceful in that movement. And the work capacity is actually much lower, which is easier on our joints and easier on the connective tissue, the tendon junction, where we get a lot of our itises.
Right. This is, I think I'll save. There's one question I'm going to save it though for after, because we won't have enough time before the next break. When I look at the, I still have all the workbooks and manuals from when I took all your courses. And then, of course, I was teaching for you, which was such a beautiful experience. Thank you, because that launched my teaching platform, really. I credit all of that to you. But, you know, all of this stuff is so interesting because what I find is that, you know, we have some well-intending, maybe podiatrists, doctors, or whoever out there, but they don't get into the foot very much. They don't talk about biomechanics of feet and how important the ability to absorb vibration is and to load, and then to be able to take that load and propulse, like you say, to recoil and spring off. And that's why I'm having you here. I want people to learn from you. Man, I can't believe it's already time for another break in a few seconds. So we're going to go out to a break in a few seconds. My name's Carl Sterling. This is Your Health Matters. You're listening to News Radio 570 WSYR. Go to carlsterling.com to hear all I have done since January. They're all there. This show will be there probably by tomorrow night or Tuesday at the latest, because I usually get the show link on Mondays. So we'll be back after the bottom of the hour news break with Dr. Emily Splichal. We'll continue talking about this. Thanks for listening. We're back. I don't know. That's a pretty cool groove, Dave. Who is that? I like that music.
That's a great question. Not sure.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that one out. Okay, so, folks, I wanted to tell you next week the show is going to be, half of it is going to be caring for the caregivers. A lot of times the caregiver, because we deal with that a lot, you know, at my clinic we have caregivers coming in with their loved ones. It could be Parkinson's related, Alzheimer's, dementia, MS, or just, you know, they're not moving well and they need a lot of caregiving. So we're going to talk about that. And then for the other half of the show, I'm going to have a special guest with me. His name is John Pine. He's a friend. My brother John owns Smoky Hollow CrossFit in Baldwinsville, and that's the CrossFit box where I go. And I have to tell you, I've been there over 2 years. It's really changed a lot for me that we have great coaches. And, of course, that really makes it extra great. But he's going to talk about the legacy program they have for people. I believe it's 55 and up. And so you want to check that out. We're also, we're back here with Dr. Emily Splichal. She is my guest, and we're talking about walking, speed, and longevity. So, Dr. Emily, I love this topic. Let's continue. And we know that our muscles are wrapped in like this ectoskeleton, if you will, called fascia, right? I guess it's the ectoskeleton of muscle, if you will. Tell us, what is fascia and why is it so important, and how can we keep it healthy?
Absolutely. So our fascia, as you had kind of called it, this exoskeleton, I think of it almost like a saran wrap of tissue that is wrapping around every muscle, and it's what blends one muscle into another muscle, into a tendon. It wraps around our bones. It actually wraps around all of our organs. So think about your gut and all the organs. That's actually called your visceral fascia. It blends into the skin. It's very, very much interconnected. And for the listeners, you can think of it, again, like this rubber band. It's very important in how one part of our body communicates to another part of our body very rapidly. So you have what are called fascial lines or fascial slings, and there's some that run from the bottom tips of your toes, across the bottom of your arch, through your calf, your lower leg, up your back to the top of your head would be an example of one sling.
Sure.
And then you have some that are more spiraling slings. And it's part of how we stabilize quickly. It's how you move efficiently, so this energy transfer that I was speaking about. So when we think about healthy movement, especially healthy movement with age, you want to make sure that you keep your fascia hydrated. I'll actually explain to my patients that sometimes our tendons and our fascia becomes like a dried out rubber band. And I think that's a good analogy because all the listeners probably have seen a dried out rubber band at some point, and it actually starts to fray. And then at some point, if you load the dried out rubber band too much or too quickly, too high, it will actually break. It'll rupture.
Wow.
And that can happen to our connective tissue as well, this fascia and our tendons. So when I think of characteristics of healthy connective tissue, fascia, one is to keep it hydrated. One of the best ways to keep your fascia hydrated is to move. So never stop moving. Sitting stasis creates stickiness in our fascia. And a lot of that stickiness, when you go to then move, is the stiffness that we would often associate with maybe the first few steps in the morning where you're like, ooh, wow, okay, like I'm like not feeling free to move because you just woke up, and there's some dehydration that happens at night. So movement is great.
Okay.
Another one is to actually hydrate. So you have to make sure you have enough water throughout the day. The third way is to do actual like body work. So this could be foam rolling. This could be vibration. So having your feet on a vibration platform. It could be a percussive gun, getting massages. That is going to bring hydration to the tissue. Now, there's two other characteristics that I just want to briefly cover. The second one is that your fascia has to be able to stiffen to stabilize. And that's actually based off of isometric muscle contractions. So when I teach people to actually train stability within their fascia, and this will be engaging your ab muscles, lengthening your arms, you're doing short foots, you're contracting your foot muscles. It's an isometric stiffening response, which is what creates stability. And then the third one is the elastic recoil. That's the actual rubber band effect of the tissue. And that is by doing ballistics, so plyometrics. And if some of the listeners are like, oh my gosh, like I'm in my 70s, I am not doing box jumps like a 20-year-old NBA player, right? That's not exactly the way that you need to do it. But as we age, we still need to be able to have a plyometric effect in our body. You have to have a quickness in your connective tissue so you can load and unload. So some of that would be maybe a little bounce to a movement, maybe a little step and then a quick another step. And that quickness of loading and unloading is actually really important to how you prevent falls as well, is to be able to have an agility to your movement.
I just have to interject here real quick. This audience here, generally speaking, they're a big fan of Dr. Peter Attia. Folks, did you hear what Dr. Emily just said? That's what Dr. Attia says too. Now you're hearing from two experts. And especially Dr. Emily with her business as a functional podiatrist and a movement specialist extraordinaire. I mean, this is where I learned all this stuff was from you. So I appreciate you reinforcing all of these different points. One of the things I find a little frustrating when we do body compositions at my clinic is the number of people out there who are underhydrated. And you know, there are a lot of reasons why, like they might have to pee all the time and stuff like that. I get it. But that hydration is just so important. If you want to expound upon that, Dr. Emily, you're welcome to. But we're talking about more than just you're hydrating your body and your blood and your muscle cells and your brain. I mean, this fascia this is a real deal, man. It's got to work right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is actually one of the biggest things that you will see is underhydration with age. And I mean, I think a lot of that trickles off the effect that just adults in general are underhydrated. This is not just older adults. Very true. But there is a chronicity of underhydration because we oftentimes don't think that we're thirsty until the signal is already being given by the body and the brain, right? A lot of people are over-caffeinated. I am totally guilty of this as well as I'm drinking my cold brew. But we will turn towards drinks and coffees and things that are actually diuretics, and they're dehydrating us. So very much so, most people are underhydrated just as adults, not just older adults.
Sure. Okay, we had 2 minutes before the next break. So one of the things I wanted to say, too, is in this underhydrated population, and this is a total side note, has nothing to do with walking speed and longevity, but especially with age, the older we get, it seems, I have no data on this, I'm sure I could find some, but that UTIs can become a thing. And God only knows, if you know anyone in their 70s, 80s, 90s, when a UTI hits, it can be almost just so scary. It's almost like a person just all of a sudden woke up with Alzheimer's. They don't know who you are and what they're doing. They're all confused. It's just dehydration. So we don't want that, because that can really lead to a higher risk of falling, especially if they're moving around and getting disoriented. So I just had to add that in about hydration. Dr. Emily, when we come back, are you up for talking about balance?
Yes, let's talk about balance.
Yeah, let's talk about balance when we come back, because that is just so important. I'm sure you see it. I see it all the time. Oh, by the way, short foot, you did mention that. I've got another half a minute here. Short foot, we covered that in the last time you were here, which is February 11th. So, folks, if you go to the February 11th episode, Dr. Emily actually talks about, and it's sort of in the theater of the mind, like radio is, demonstrates short foot. Okay, digging those toes into the ground and specific things to go along with it. So check out that episode on my website, carlsterling.com. We're coming back in a couple of minutes, folks. This is Your Health Matters. Dr. Emily is my guest. We'll see you here in a couple of minutes. We are back for the last quarter here, folks. By the way, I have Naboso insoles in my clinic, although I need to order more because I'm getting really low. So I'll be doing that. But we have some, and they're a game changer for a lot of reasons. Maybe we'll talk about that with Dr. Emily in a minute, because she's the creator of those. Play On Relief Pain Spray. I have it. We're selling out, though. So Play On, I just want to let you know, folks, this product is amazing. It has 10% menthol, 10% camphor. There's arnica. There's no pharma, no drugs, all natural, no chemicals. It's not going to hurt you. But I've never had anything, whether it's a prescription or a non-prescription, help with immediate pain relief, and it probably lasts a heck of a lot longer. Straight across the board, we're getting excellent results. Go to carlsterling.com. Go to our radio sponsors tab. You can't miss it. Pull it down and go to Play On. All right? Okay, we're going to get back with Dr. Emily here. The thing I am striving to do with this show, everybody, is obviously it's a longevity-based show, meaning that's the thought process I want us to be thinking within is how can we live the longest health span within this lifespan? How can we make live longer, live better? Okay, well, we're a longevity-based clinic. So if you need help with anything, whether it's pain management, it's walking, it's balance, it's strength, it's muscle. Speaking of vibration, like Dr. Emily said in the last quarter, I have the top-end medical device HS7, whatever it is, power plate. This thing is the number one most popular machine in the clinic because of the therapeutic effects it has, especially if you got some Naboso underneath you, right? So you vibrate with Naboso, it's absolutely incredible. But the only way I'm going to get there, folks, is to have forward-thinking pioneers as guests on my show. There's nothing I ever preach to you came from my own brain. I just regurgitate what I learned from other people like Dr. Emily. So, Dr. Emily, I'm so glad you're with me, and thank you for joining me. You are a forward-thinking leader in the field. Just want to say thanks for everything you've taught me over the years. I am grateful. I also want to get into talking about balance, and I would love for you to talk about something that nobody really talks about, and that is the ability to flex our toes.
Hello?
Oh, yep. I'd love to have you share with our listeners the benefits of toe flexor strength in relation to balance.
Absolutely. So one area of the feet that is rarely focused on, but is so important for balance, is going to be in relation to our toes. And I'm sure many of the listeners might not even think about their toes on a daily basis. And I'm not talking about bunions and hammer toes, but really toe strength. And research has actually shown that as we lose toe strength, you actually see a decrease in balance and therefore a decrease in walking speed and a higher fall risk. So this correlation. When we talk about toe strength, there's actually this anchoring mechanism. So as we stand, as we take a step, something has to be pulling our body and our foot into the ground to create power output. And that's essentially toe flexor strength. So if the listeners were to look down at their feet, look at their toes, maybe they have a little bit of a bunion or an angulation of the big toe. Maybe they see some contracture or hammering of the digits. Any of those shifts in our toe alignment is actually, I consider it an energy leak, that you have lost some of your stability. So what do we do to try to harness our toe alignment and our toe strength? One of my favorite ways is using toe spacers. So something that will open up and spread all of our toes. That's really good for improving balance and toe alignment, for toe strength. Doing something like short foot that you had mentioned before, which is a pushing down of the toes to actually strengthen the muscles. Doing balance exercises with your toe spacers on, so you support that toe alignment. And then one of my other favorite ways is what's called forward lean, which is a exercise where you can activate a postural reflex to kick on your toe strength, your toe activation, and you don't have to know anything about the feet to do this forward lean postural reflex.
And you went over that on the February 11th show, so folks, go to carlsterling.com, Carl with a K, go to the past shows recording, go to February 11th, and Dr. Emily talks about the forward lean there, plus short foot and a number of other things. Now, how about let's talk about intrinsic and extrinsic, those things in relation to balance too.
Yeah, so when it comes to falls and balance, so they're obviously interrelated, and then balance will always affect walking speed. I want the listeners to understand that as well, is there are extrinsic and intrinsic reasons for why we fall and lose our balance, let's say. One reason of an extrinsic would be, let's say you're walking, you're outside in a park, and there's a lip or an edge on the sidewalk and you don't see it. That would be an extrinsic reason for losing your balance and falling.
Sure.
Theoretically, a very high stack in your shoes. So if your shoes have a lot of cushion under them, that's called stack. So how high off of the ground are you because of your shoes? That is a extrinsic reason. It's lifting your center of mass. It's changing the way that your ankle perceives itself in relation to the ground. Obviously, cushion is a extrinsic reason for decreasing balance because the cushion absorbs the information.
Sure.
And is like standing on a pillow, so it takes away your information. Intrinsic variables would be like neuropathy, hearing loss, cataracts, things that are going to be more in your medical wellness that affect balance. And you have to think about both when you are trying to improve balance.
Got it. Oh, we're already into the last minute here. Dr. Emily, I just want to thank you so much. We're going to have you back real soon, okay? Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I would love to.
Yeah. I mean, I guess go on for hours on this. I really want to have a 2-hour show, folks. Okay. Remember, vote for me, please. Help me. carlsterling.com. just go vote for the Muscle and Fitness thing. And thanks everybody so much for listening. I can't thank you enough, Dr. Emily, for joining me. You need me, you call me, 315-935-7488. See you next week.
Program by Carl Sterling. The content of this show is that of Carl Sterling and does not represent the views of the station or iHeartMedia. Some of the information contained in this program has not been approved by the FDA, nor is it intended to diagnose, prevent, treat, or cure any diseases. Information has been for general information only, and before considering anything discussed, you should contact your doctor or primary care physician.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms.